This is Unit 4, Week 1, Question 1, or the Women's Rights Suffragette Activists. The first of these up here is Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth was an escaped runaway slave who joined one of these women's organizations, so she's also an active abolitionist. Many of these women's rights activists supported other causes too, especially temperance, suffrage for women. But Sojourner Truth was a powerful speaker. She escaped out of slavery, changed her name to this vision, this term that means, traveler of truth. She's famous for speaking up at a women's rights convention with a famous refrain line, and ain't I a woman too, as in African Americans or blacks also had a role as women and as activists. So she's a powerful speaker against abolition and in favor of women's rights, and not just for privileged rich women, so to speak. Lucretia Mott was a Quaker reformer and an abolitionist. She worked for women's rights. She helped establish the major event in early women's suffrage movement, the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848. In July 19th and 20th, 1848, began the formal start of a women's rights movement. They wrote a Universal Declaration of a Declaration of Sentiments, which is essentially the U.S. Declaration of Independence, declaring rights for men and women. And she's a major leader also in abolitionist movement. Susan B. Anthony, what she's best known for today, probably being the first woman on a coin in the early 80s on the dollar coin. Why? She's along with Elizabeth Cady Stanton, a major leader in the movement for women's suffrage, and she co-founded the National Women's Suffrage Association in 1869. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, also at the meeting held in Seneca Falls in 1848, co-founder of the National Women's Suffrage Association. She's a major reformer, suffragist writer, strongly supported by her husband, by the way. There were many men at this first convention as well. And she urged the suffragist amendment to the Constitution. And finally, Maria Mitchell, more by a suffragist, but more symbolic. She was the first female member of the American Academy of Sciences, an astronomer, a professor of astronomy at Vassar Women's College, did groundbreaking work on, like, I think, sunspots. Anyways, but she was unable to attend college herself, but ends up as a professor at one, certainly symbolically represented the role of women and access to education, giving them access to more opportunity. And that's it briefly on women's rights reformers from some guy in an Aloha print shirt.